This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows.
This week, Space Rangers, episodes 5 and 6.
I just come back from Catraz. Next to Catraz, this is heaven. You know how many guys it takes to change a light bulb in Catraz? None. They live in the dark. I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to be anywhere. I heard I was dead.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that bribes Central with ice diamonds to not lose our jobs. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
Well, I hurt my back trying to separate two Siamese twins.
Oh my god.
Huh?
Oy, oy, oy.
I kind of butchered it. I'm no Buddy Hackett, but
You know Buddy Hackett. Man, what a cameo to get on the final 2 episodes of the show.
We've said it before, but I think the casting on the show is probably the strongest point that the show has.
Absolutely. Did they completely misuse Buddy Hackett? Also, absolutely.
Also, my theory is they got him for a day, and he was like, either his own mobility issues or based on the schedule, he couldn't really move more than 5 feet of like.
Yeah, you move in here. I also think they made him improv his entire thing.
Yeah.
Because he seems to be like really swinging in the wind. Like he's just like, you just want me to talk? I guess so.
Anyway,
we're
gonna talk about Buddy Hackett.
Before we do though, Jordan, I put together a little game for us about the cast.
Great.
It's sort of something I believe you originated, where I'll give you some movies and then some of the cast, and you can try to figure out who had what role.
Oh yeah, we've done this before, and I think last time I did quite poor.
I think you were like a 50%. I think you were pretty even. Right. So we'll see how it goes this time. I'm going to switch it up a little this time.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the movies first, and then we'll go cast member to cast member. So I'm going to give you all the movies up front, and I'll remind you as you need be. But
I hope I've seen these movies.
I've tried to pick their most famous roles.
Okay.
Obviously, from cast member to cast member, that can change quite a bit as to what their most famous roles are. So here we go. We got Solo, A Star Wars Story.
Right.
We got Goldeneye. We got The Friends of Jesus, both Judas and Thomas. There's 2 movies, one about Judas, one about Thomas.
Oh, man.
We got Apollo 13.
Sorry, this is The Friends of Jesus.
That's the series titles. The Friends of Jesus.
I see. I thought you were referring to the disciples as just his friends. Just his friends.
No, this movie series refers to them as The Friends of Jesus.
Okay, yeah.
Apollo 13. The Fighter by David O. Russell.
Right.
Planet of the Apes, the remake. Not the most recent one, the middle one.
Yeah.
Well, who's that by? Burton.
Tim Burton, yeah.
Regarding Henry.
I liked Regarding Henry.
And the television show, Nasty Boys.
Oh. Not the wrestler tag team Nasty Boys?
Unfortunately for this one particular actor, I was going through and I noticed like, oh, you did a TV show that had 2 TV movies and like a series, and it was called The Nasty Boys? It's just a cop show though.
Oh, Nasty Boys. Okay, sure.
All right.
I've only seen maybe 2 of those. Maybe 3.
So should we start off, of course, with Jeff Cack or Boone?
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, Jeff Cack, his name is?
Or Cake. It's 2 A's, so it's K.
Oh, really?
It's K-A-A-K-E.
Kake?
Kake?
I don't know. Let's say Cake.
Sure.
So old Johnny Cakes. What's his name?
Old Jeffy Cakes.
Jeffy Cakes. I don't know why that's funny. He did. Give me a couple of the titles again.
I'll go through it. There was Regarding Henry, Planet of the Apes, Nasty Boys, Fighter, Apollo 13, Friends of Jesus, Goldeneye, Solo, A Star Wars Story.
I think he was in Regarding Henry.
All right. You want to go on to the next one?
Yeah.
Or do you want to know if you're right or wrong?
No, let's keep going.
All right.
Can you keep track of if I'm right or wrong?
Yeah, I have.
They'll all be wrong, so.
I have a pen, so I will keep track. Put a big check mark next to that one.
Yeah, I hope that pen works.
Big check mark, because you were so right. Marjorie Monahan or JoJo?
Okay. I think she was in, I'm going to say Apollo. Was it Apollo 13?
Yeah, Apollo 13?
Yeah, I'm going to say that because she seems to have a lot of science fiction on her resume. I know that's not really a science fiction movie, but it goes to space.
Oh, interesting.
So that's my theory.
It does go to space. You're right.
Yeah.
Carrie Hiroki. I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize to everybody who's listening to this. Tagawa. Fuck, I suck.
I know which
Xylan.
one it is.
Xylan.
Xylan, yeah. He was in. I'm gonna say he was in Goldeneye.
All right. Now we've got Doc or Jack McGee.
Yeah. He was in. Weirdly, I don't think this is true, but I'm gonna guess he was in one of those Jesus movies.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I've seen him in stuff before, but none of it was what you've listed.
I like that your guess is, I don't think it's this one, but I'm going to guess.
Yeah. Well, maybe fun.
All right. Clint Howard.
Yeah. He was. Oh no! You know
Yeah.
what? I got to make a change because I know he's in Apollo 13. He's got to be in Apollo 13. And who did I say was in that?
I don't think you've said anyone's in that one yet.
Marjorie, I said was in Apollo 13.
Oh, I thought you said Planet of the Apes, so I'm changing that.
Let's put her in Planet of the Apes.
All right. Danny Quinn Kincaid or Backman.
Oh, Kincaid he's got to be Nasty Boys.
If anyone's a nasty boy.
Yeah, it's got to be Kincaid.
Gottfried, John, or Wise.
Oh. What have I got left?
You've got The Fighter and Solo are the ones you haven't used.
Oh, I've really butchered this. I'm going to put him in The Fighter, but I don't think I'm going to get any of these right.
And finally, Linda Hunt Chenault. You can still switch these up.
What was
Or you can double up.
What
it
was
doesn't
Linda
matter.
Hunt in? And what do I have left? There's no way. You know what? Sure, Linda Hunt was in Solo. I never saw it, but I hope Linda Hunt is in Solo.
All right, you want to go through it and
Yeah,
see
let's
how
do
you
it.
did?
Mhm.
You've got 2 right.
Hey, that's not so bad.
Sure.
Well, it's not so bad.
All right. Boone, Jeff Cake,
Yeah.
Nasty Boys.
Oh, that was gonna be my second guess.
I mean, he looks like a nasty boy.
Yeah.
Marjorie Monahan, JoJo, regarding Henry.
Oh, I don't
Go
remember.
back and watch it.
Yeah, I got to. Ritz crackers.
Carrie, Hiroyuki, Tagawa. Probably still not right. Planet of the Apes.
Oh man, I'm really bad.
Jack McGee, The Fighter. Which, if you think about it,
oh yeah,
makes perfect
that's
sense.
right. Yeah.
Clint Howard, Apollo 13, of
Yeah,
course, his
thank
brother.
you. Yeah.
Danny Quinn Kincaid, he was Jesus in The Friends of Jesus.
Really?
Both movies.
Really?
Yeah.
I would not. I thought he was a nasty boy.
I mean, maybe it was a nasty Jesus.
Probably not.
Gottfried John, Wise, Goldeneye.
Who did he play in Goldeneye?
I'm not sure, actually. He's a general in the movie.
General.
And I didn't go to check which general. He had a good name, but I don't remember it right now. And finally, Linda Hunt, Solo, A Star Wars Story.
Oh wow, that is fun.
It is great casting.
I never saw it. Did you see the movie?
I have, and I don't remember her in it.
Really?
But I don't remember
She
much
plays-
of the movie.
She plays a droid or something.
I think she's like on the criminal planet where Solo comes up. She might like lead a gang of like little miscreants or something. Could be wrong. She could be a senator. I don't remember.
Well, anyways, that was fun for the whole family.
There you go. All the people at home were just shouting,
Yeah.
"No, she's in Regarding Henry."
Yeah. Don't you know you're regarding Henry?
You just said you were a fan.
I did like it when it came out in 1990. I'm gonna guess 1991.
When you were a 9-year-old boy. All right, are you ready for the IMDb summary for episode 5? To be or not to be?
It might as well just say the greatest episode of television.
New York Club's episode. Washed up old comedian Lenny Hacker crashes on the prison planet Catraz. Doc and Daniel insist they should rescue him, though avoiding General Kincaid's inspection visit may have more than a little to do with it. He's Daniel's father. That was courtesy of Jules Taylor.
Nice, Jules. Thanks for all the help, Jules. Can I make 2 quick points on this?
Absolutely.
There's 2 things that are so indicative of this show, and they're names for things. The one, Lenny Hacker.
Lenny
correct?
Hacker.
Lenny Hacker is a older comedian played, as we mentioned in the beginning, by Buddy Hackett. But you know, the writer barely gave an effort. Like, what are we gonna call Buddy Hackett? I don't know. Lenny Hacker, good enough. And it's just so classic. Like, they just couldn't be bothered to come up with anything original.
I feel they just put the cameo call, and this is who they got. And they're like,
Yeah.
great, come up with a name.
And then even better than that was Catraz. Because you know that, like, what's the most famous prison in the world? Alcatraz. And you could just see them in the writing room. Do we call it Alca? Do we call it Alc? Traz? No. Catraz. We got it, boys. All right, it's lunch.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Laziness permeates this episode.
Yeah, and then of all the episodes, like, I know we've had it established at this point, I have a soft spot for this show, and I know it's dumb. And this is maybe one of the laziest episodes. Like, it feels like everyone was an autopilot for a show that might as well be called Autopilot, but it still has some sort of like stupid charm to it.
Well,
I do like Buddy Hackett.
I mean, it starts off, and I liked this a little bit. It starts off, and we see a little tiny spaceship, and it's adorable. Like the little spaceship he's flying on, it looks like it's out of a children's show. It's
pretty good design on the show. All the ships have been at least different.
It was very cute. Had nice lights on it. I was like, I love this little spaceship. And we hear voices off screen over top of the spaceship. And these are the first two lines. Basically, I'm going to paraphrase a little of the show. But the first line is, "The show is canceled. Your kind of humor doesn't go over anymore." And I'm just like, if you hadn't said this already so many times and that the show has no self-awareness, you would be like, well, the writers know they're getting canceled. But you know these people had no idea.
Yeah.
But there'll be a few jokes in this about him being canceled. They just keep making the same joke. And I'm just like, you are so dumb. You don't know you're damned.
This may not have actually aired. Actually, I want to mention to you, not that it matters too much, but the order we watched it was not the intended order. So if on the DVD, what I looked up, the order of the episodes as compared to what we watched them are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 4. So this episode actually is the second last episode still, but I guess the only really one it switched for whatever reason is, no, those last three are switched. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 4.
Weird. So they would have wanted to put not the worm one.
What was the last episode for?
Well, they put a worm up someone's nose last episode. I think that was the first one. No, that was it. It was the one where they put a worm up.
That would have been the last episode.
What a high note.
But it is funny that you're mentioning, the cancellation, because it does feel like, there's a little bit of almost that like tongue-in-cheek Arrested Development sort of thing. Like everyone knows what's happening. We're going to make mention of it in the show. But it's like, no, they don't know.
These people have no idea. I know. It is funny because it's just like in any other show, I would say they knew it was coming, but not this show.
No.
But yes, we meet Lenny Hacker, played by Buddy Hackett. And as you mentioned, he's an old comedian. He's chatting it up with his agent. And they're talking about kind of how he doesn't do ticket sales anymore because he has a retro comic style.
What do you think about his the design of the decorations in the ship?
His Andy Warhol knockoffs?
Yeah, he's got like Andy Warhol, that sort of famous silhouette of sorts, and then the various colors of it.
3 prints of it in different colors.
But it's with his head.
Well, yeah.
And there's like other kind of like Buddy Hackett art around.
I mean, it's just so lazy. It's just like, this is what a star has.
You mentioned that he's talked to his agent.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of odd, right? That they're just using what would normally be a sort of like, you'd assume, emergency feature, or there's a reason to be talking to someone. They're just having like a casual phone call conversation using the technology.
Yeah,
from
you
the
just
ship.
have a call with your agent on your way to your next show, which has 12 tickets sold to it. It's going. I like that when he's arguing with his agent. He has that smart ring he's wearing.
Yeah, that's right.
Where he's just like, you don't think people like my show? Well, check this out. And he pushes the smart ring and a laugh track kicks in. He's like, check this out.
Yeah, he apparently had his ship rigged to have a laugh track when he needs it. But I didn't understand how that helped his point. He's like, you don't think I'm funny? Check this out. Canned laughs.
I think he says this is recorded at one of my shows. And I think the agent's like, that was 20 years ago, man. Like, that show you're referring to. I wasn't born yet. His agent's so young.
Buddy Hackett, if you don't know who Buddy Hackett is, it's hard to describe.
He's just a squat little man.
Yeah, and is the kind of humor that he has. But
if there was a comedy Lord of the Rings, he'd be a dwarf.
I think if it was another actor or / comedian, there might be more of a sense of sadness. Because if you actually, the dialogue, it's all like, no one likes you, and you're over the hill, and they always make jokes that he's always dying. But he doesn't deliver anything like that. Like his character is sort of like a Gilligan-esque.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I'm just going forward.
My money is they went after Rodney Dangerfield first.
You could easily see that, yeah.
Because it's a little more of that like patheticness they wanted. And Buddy Hackett never quite gets there with it.
No, he seems fine. They're like, you're going to die. He's like, yeah, that's right. And he's
well, I mean, that's the
nonplussed.
It's the running joke for the rest of the episode that everyone assumes he's dead. Like, that's how irrelevant he is in the culture right now. Is like 4 or 5 different people will be like, you're going to go rescue Lenny Hacker. I thought he was dead.
But again, because it's Space Rangers, you would think that there's going to be this sort of theme or undercurrent of aging or losing relevance or something, but that's not what this episode's about. They mention it constantly, but it
has no relevance to the plot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all. Anyways, we digress.
He's flying through talking to his agent. His ship gets caught up in a micrometeor belt, which punctures a hole in his hull. And because he hasn't been giving his ship regular maintenance, he never got any warnings. So he ends up crash landing on the prison planet of Catraz.
Yeah.
It's so great when he tries to pilot the ship. He's like, they give him a joystick, and he doesn't even look like he knows how to use it.
Yeah, it's great. Watching Buddy Hackett try to fly a ship is a novel piece of casting. But I should say, what Catraz is kind of like an early Australia, and I mean that not to be an offensive way, but what it basically was originally a large prison / penal colony that
Supermax prison.
Yeah, Supermax prison that at a certain point, and Luke, you probably have the details as to why, but basically they went at a certain point, let the inmates run this thing. They don't have any way off the planet. Now they have, it's not even like a government. It's sort of just like lawlessness.
And
everyone,
anarchy.
they just leave them down there. It sort of looks like a Mad Max sort of thing down there. And
it actually looked a little bit like a Space Beyond Planet. A lot of fog.
That's true.
A lot of lightning.
Yeah. It's because it sounds stages. But yeah, it's just, there's criminals down there. So the basic idea is there's a planet where like the worst go and they're never going to get off.
They're never going to get off. Yeah. I mean, it's just to fill out that question for you is, I think the idea in the premise of the show was the Supermax was there. They overloaded it. There's a huge riot. They could never get it back, the riot under control. And so they just like said, planet's yours. Nobody go back.
Yeah. And a point that's not going to be important later is there's a lot of electrical storms and they make communication difficult.
Oh my God, we'll get I have the exact phrasing of how that's said over and over again. But we jump back to Fort Hope now, where they're prepping for an inspection by General Kincaid, previously mentioned Daniel's father, where Wise is hanging a bunch of banners, and he's got a new little comedy sidekick. He's taking out of mothballs.
Is he have a comedy sidekick?
Did you not notice that Ringer was back?
Oh, yes, Ringer. Oh, so yes. I think they brought him back, just like in the next episode, there's another cameo guest star, not cameo, but a guest star that comes back. I think the one thing this show, again, noticed is the casting and who was really good. And we all mentioned last time.
That robot Ringer.
He was great. And so it's like, bring him back. He's great. They don't really give him much to do, but it's sort of like, didn't you love this character? He's still walking around.
Yeah, they just give him a couple gags with Wise over the course of the show. There's not much to talk about with him, but I was just like, when I saw him, like, good call, everybody. Make this person on part of the show.
Yeah.
JoJo is also she's about to take some leave to get off the planet. Although what that equates to, there's this whole conversation where she's like, I'm going to go on leave. I take my leave very seriously. And Kincaid's trying to trade the leave with her because he doesn't want to be there when his dad gets there. And she's like going on and on about how important her leave is to her. And then it just like, you assume she's not going to be in the episode or something, or like it's going to matter in some way because they spent so much time like railing this point. Never comes up again.
Yeah. But that's a classic Space Rangers. They'll do a whole scene where you think, oh, they're seeding something. It's like, no. And it's not even time wasting. It's just they're mentioning something. Just because.
They're just having a conversation. It's just like two regular people. Kincaid happens to see, he gets one of a personal screen put down at the bar for him, the little plastic green thing. And there's a news report talking about Lenny Hacker crashing on Catraz, and just like everyone's like, too bad, eh? No one's coming to get him, apparently.
Yeah, and they kind of, it's like a joke of like, one, no one cares about this guy anymore, and two, he's crashed in the worst place possible to save him.
Yeah, and this is kind of, because he's looking for a way off the planet, he's like, hey, we're Space Rangers, we should go save him. And he walks over and interrupts Doc and Boone. They're like in the middle of the conversation, and Doc is telling, maybe you wrote them down, I could not understand the jokes he was telling at the table.
No, they weren't. I didn't actually bother writing them down because I knew you were going to bring this up. They're not jokes. They're the idea that, oh, you've walked into a conversation and you're hearing the punchline, but they couldn't even bother coming up with stuff. He's just like, yeah, so I ate the sandwich. You're like, what?
Well, that's it. Like, there's two lines you hear as he approaches. One, he says, and then as he sits down, you hear the next one, and there's a laughter. Those two lines didn't even relate. I was like, what am I? Because I was like, I'm going to write down this joke. It's obviously going to be a very bad joke, but it's a comedy episode, so I want to know. And I'm like, these are just two random lines you had an actor say, and then everyone laughed.
They've really tried to establish that he's sort of like, he's that guy who says whatever he thinks, but it's like, but he never actually says anything interesting or funny. It's just, he just says stuff.
It's just, yeah. I mean, it's like they wrote placeholder lines, like, we'll think of something later. And as soon as I saw Lenny Hacker on the show, my first note was, well, this is going to be Doc's favorite comedian. And of course, 100% is.
Yeah.
We get to find out that Doc actually saw him on his honeymoon with his wife, which Tell me more about this wife. Where's this wife been the whole time?
Yeah, and I don't even think, do they ever mention if she's alive or anything? It's just sort of like, yeah, I have a wife.
It's the thing. He doesn't refer to her as an ex-wife. Like, there's none of that. Like,
Exactly.
He's just like, yeah, I think my wife married me because I look a little like Lenny Hacker. And he does.
A little bit.
For sure. But it was kind of bizarre. I'm just like, I mean, obviously you're going to love Lenny Hacker. That's clear from your character. But where's this wife?
I think I mentioned this before. I think the people writing the show thought if you just sort of mention things in passing, that's world building. And that's enough of character development and world building, and creating any sort of narrative was just, we'll just have people mention stuff. You'd be like, oh yeah, I used to have glasses when I was a kid. Anyway, back to the ship. You're like, what? And they do this constantly of these non sequitur lines, and that's just another one. So it's like, I just let them flow over me because I was like, well, it doesn't matter. Nothing anyone says matters to the plot evolved.
Thinking about it now, the fact that he has a wife, and the fact that now he just keeps trying to get JoJo to like, he is always like hitting on her really. I'm like, he's a bad husband.
Yeah,
but I guess that's
maybe
not a
she's
surprise.
dead. Maybe she's dead, and
We don't know.
he's overcompensating.
That's true. He's overcompensating.
There's no way they thought about that in the show. No way.
Well, moving on.
But did we mention the reason Kincaid really wants to go down to the planet is because his dad is the general's coming for an inspection, and he wants to get off the planet. They imply that he has either a bad relationship with his dad, or he's worried about being judged, or something along those lines.
Just that, yeah, he doesn't want to see his dad. We can understand that as an
And the other subplot being Weiss wants to impress him because he's hoping he'll get off the
Right.
for hope. Again, doesn't really
barely
matter.
a subplot even
Yeah.
in this episode. But yes, the rest of the team says yes basically because they're like, hey, we can see you don't want to be here. And Boone's like, let me go talk to Chenault. I'll see if I can get us on this detail. It's the prison, like whatever the prison department's problem really is, but maybe we can go take care of it for them. It's very funny because he goes to ask Chenault and she's just like, A, that's not your job. And B, why would I risk my best Ranger squad, my very best Ranger squad? Everyone else is worse than you somehow on going to this planet.
Yeah.
So many questions about that. Moving on, though. And she looks out her door and sees Kincaid, like, pouting with puppy dog eyes outside of her door. And she's like, you know what? Go for it. Just go for it, you guys.
But I like that all the conflict in the show is like this, because right before this scene, Kincaid goes to Boone and goes, we go on this mission? And Boone goes, no. And he goes, come on. He goes, no. Come on. All right. And that was it. And that's essentially that they redo the scene again with Linda Hunt's character. Like, can we do it? No. Can we do it? No. All right.
But yes, basically this gets the mission moving forward. They're prepping for launch. We get some like weird bits where Mimmer, like, this is what you're talking about. The planet has limited communication, and Mimmer's explaining this to him, and he keeps saying communication will be available sporadically, periodically. And then like 2 minutes later, he's just like, don't forget, it's only available sporadically, periodically. And I was like, what is going on? Is he having a seizure?
Let me ask you, has he been gone for several episodes? Doesn't it feel like he hasn't been in it for a while?
I don't know. I think he shows up because I think he's like, they put him in like when they need a doctor, he shows up. Or like they just try to squeeze him in when they like can find 2 minutes to put him in. And this is another thing. It's just like, tell them about the planet. Where's Mimmer?
Yeah.
Where's Clint Howard? We need him. But we also get a few like comedy beats here, ? Like when they're loading up to launch, Xylan's asking what a comedian is.
Mm-hmm.
And Doc's like, it's someone who makes you laugh. And Xylan's like, oh, so like a priest in my race. I was just like, you're a priest. I just didn't understand. Like, I didn't get the joke. I don't understand what they were going for.
Well, it's because they hadn't bothered watching previous episodes or looking at the script they were writing to see if there was any consistency in the characters.
So whoever wrote this was just like, this is a funny joke. Priests on this planet are funny.
Yeah. Look, we'll say intended to be the funniest of the episodes.
You're right. It is intended to be the funniest of the episodes. You're correct. Anyway, jump forward. They arrive at Catraz. After, for some reason, Kincaid has to beg to come on the mission. He's just like begging to come. And just like all the earlier scenes, Boone's like, no, okay, come on, let's go down. They take the parrot jets down. It's Boone, it's Doc, it's Xylan, it's Kincaid. JoJo's staying on the plane, right where she needs to be.
Yeah. But how was the communication on the planet?
It was sporadic, periodically.
I really like that.
They sort of wander this prison planet. They find... Can you explain to me, did they call those things, they find some corpses tied to basically what looks like crosses, and they call them roots?
Yeah, they did say they're roots. I thought
we were going to see they were plants or something, but they just seem to be crosses.
No, I know. I think the intention was
Or like a medieval torture device or something.
Something like that. Like they put him in, and I thought like roots would grow around them as like a slow torch or something, because they did say that. But then you see, yeah, I think it might just be that the actual props that they used just looked terrible, so it didn't get the idea across.
Right. I mean, all we really know is like they see there's like some corpses from Rangers tied to it already, which is very funny that Rangers never go pick up their dead, I guess.
Yeah.
Just leave them where
Also,
they fall.
I like that it's just skeletons wearing
uniforms.
wearing the uniforms, but the uniforms look great.
And I like at some point a prisoner will talk about roots, and then be like, we tie them to the roots and we leave them for the half-breeds.
I missed that line.
I was like, what does that mean?
Oh.
But at any rate, Boone and Doc feel bad about these dead Rangers, so they're going to stay behind and bury them on the planet. Well, Xylan and Kincaid go off and find Buddy Hacker, which takes no effort. They find him immediately. Like there's no obstacles in the episode.
Yeah, it's like they land far away from him on a planet
Filled with prisoners.
Yeah, that are itching to murder and get off the planet.
Clearly hate Rangers.
And they're like, how do we get over there? And there he is.
Yeah, there he is. In fact, Xylan and Kincaid get over there. There's a little chit chat with Buddy. Jojo calls down, and because the communication is periodically working, she calls down and she can't get hold of Boone, but there's like life forms coming toward him. This is where they're attacked by a group of prisoners who are like trying to find the ship and like get off the planet themselves.
What did you think of this team of dreadnoughts here?
I mean, they barely, like two of them were silent.
Yeah.
And then there was like a lady.
And ball cap.
And both, yeah. And they were like supposed to be like Thelma and Louise, I guess.
She really gave it.
She did her best.
She did her best. I don't think I agree with the acting choices she made. To be a silent actress kind of flailing about. However, I don't blame her. I blame the material. But yeah, it's weird because they don't give these characters any time.
They could have been a silent threat. They could have just been like something in the fog that they were fighting against.
But instead, they just have them come up and they kind of chew scenery for maybe 2 or 3 scenes, and then...
Well, it's funny because you don't even see the original firefight. They start shooting at Boone and Doc off screen, and you're like, uh-oh, they're going to capture Boone and Doc. And then you just cut back to the ship, and Boone and Doc arrive at the ship like, oh, I got shot in my arm.
Yeah.
Then they're out there, and you're like, okay, now they're going to have to defend. It's going to be like Assault on Precinct, whatever, 19. What's it called? That John Carpenter movie?
Yeah, Assault on... I can't remember what it's called.
Whatever. A number. So I'm like, okay, this is where it's going now. But the prisoners just like are like, oh, they're on that ship now. Let's go find their what do they call them? The paragliders, their parajets they come down in.
Yeah. I don't know what they're called, though.
And so that, like, there's no threat there because they go to the paragliders and they're like, okay, we need to get these because there's a Ranger slingship up there. It's full of proton missiles. Let's just get up there, but they don't know the docking codes. And as old Bald Cap says when he figures out he's like, oh, belly snappers.
Yeah, that's right. They did call them belly snappers. I wrote that down.
And they're just like, well, let's just wait here till they come back, and then we'll get them. It's just like everyone is so lackadaisical about their plans.
Oh, can I mention one thing? I don't think we've ever mentioned in the 3 podcasts we've done now. All of the weapons in this show, they're guns with bullets.
Yeah.
See,
oh, yeah. They're like
they're not laser
submachine
guns.
Yeah.
And you would think in this show there's a real sense of danger because they're shooting guns, but it really just comes off like G.I. Joe. Like,
yeah, I mean, it because everyone just fires wildly. Even Boone, who's been shot and is injured on the ship, like his wound seems like nothing. It's barely superficial. Now, he doesn't even seem to be all that injured by it. But this has basically set them up where these guys are waiting by the parajets. The Rangers have to leave to get Buddy Hackett back to the jets to get off the planet. They're like, but oh no, a storm is blowing in. And then they're like, okay, it's gone. Like, there's like 5 minutes where they're like waiting the storm to blow. And it's like, okay, this is where something's going to happen. It's like, no, it's fine. So Boone, Doc, and Xylan walk back to the ships, get captured immediately, get tied to the roots, and are like tortured. They're like
3 seconds.
Slapped around a little to get these codes. Kincaid had to stay behind because he had to help Buddy Hackett carry his luggage.
Yeah, and then there's more time given to Buddy Hackett and Kincaid having a discussion about how Kincaid does not want to carry the luggage and Buddy Hackett would like him to carry the luggage. There's at least 2 scenes of that. There's more scenes than they develop the villains that are supposed to be the scary thing that were the scary obstacle.
I mean, they really want to drive home that what's in the luggage are all his memories. He has to remember the time that the Bosch of Marina put him in a castle with a live goat.
Well, again, there's almost an attempt at something being sort of sweet and wistful, but they don't
They don't know what to do with it.
They don't do it at all.
Anyway, Kincaid and Hacker, they show up at the scene. They see they've been captured, and Kincaid calls up to Jojo, and she's like, Jojo, they're trapped. You need to help me. So Jojo gets on the mic and calls back to Fort Hope, where the inspection by General Kincaid's going on, which is the first inspection in 5 years that's happened at Fort Hope.
Yeah. Oh, and can I mention, the line he said why he was coming to inspect is he said he didn't like the status of the cost reports.
Yeah, he didn't like that. He did not like to look at the cost reports. Not for him.
Not for him, no.
In fact, he's going to have to shut down some forts. Could be this one. Might not be. Depends on the cost reports. Anyway, we come to learn over the course of these little flashes back to Fort Hope that there's some bad blood between Chenault and him over like how she doesn't run the fort by the book.
Yeah, and which... Now, let me ask you, you're probably pay more attention than I do on these episodes because I'm just having a good time. I'm on for the roller coaster that is Space Rangers. First, he says he doesn't like the cost reports. Then they quite explicitly say he doesn't actually like Linda Hunt, and he's using that as an excuse. And they have some bad blood because she doesn't. Yeah, like he doesn't run things by the book. She's letting these renegade rangers go. But like, have we seen that at all? They're always talking. They always seem to be filling out their overtime paperwork and everything.
I would argue they don't even do that within this episode because at the beginning of the episode, when she sends them off to like Prison Planet, Kincaid's like, "Well, what are you gonna tell my dad?" She's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like, I'll just tell him you had to go." Like, she says it like it's like not a big deal, even though she should know there's so much bad blood's gonna be tough. And even when he shows up, they're getting along like gangbusters. When they're going for that walk down and he's looking at all the banners, they're making fun of the banners together. They seem like they're good friends
Until this scene.
Until halfway through the episode, we're suddenly like, "Oh wait, you don't like each other? You seem to like each other earlier."
Honestly, this show is so odd. It's as if they just start filming and then making the script up as they go, and then halfway through they're like, "Does that work? Just keep going. Just keep going.
Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop." Anyway, Jojo is asking permission to land on the planet to rescue them. Chenault's just like, "No way. I can't afford to risk losing that ship. It's got proton missiles. We can't lose those. It's very important."
She says, even if it's the best Rangers I have.
Even if those are the best Rangers I have, which they are.
Yeah.
Clearly they're the best. 3 of them easily got captured. No problem. They couldn't even get a comedian off the planet.
Yeah.
And then General's obviously very unhappy because his son's down there and he wants his son rescued. So he turns to Old Wise, who the show keeps trying to imply to us there's some sort of rivalry between her and Chenault, but like there doesn't, like, not for Wise. Wise seems to be like on her side every single time. But he's like, "I'll give you the order and you do it, Wise." And he's like, no, she's right. No. And so he's a general. He just storms up, but can't he just force the point?
I know, that was odd. He's sort of like, no one's listening to him, or the two of them are, so
they
just
say
says,
no, so he pouts and he walks away.
Yeah. I'm like, well, that's...
I'm like, you have seniority here. Just make someone else do. I don't know. Like, it was so crazy. So I kind of thought that's what he's going to order her to land, and there's going to be some kerfuffle after that. But she just like walks away like a child.
Yeah. And so the team is left on their own on the planet.
So Kincaid has to come up with a plan. And what a plan he comes up with.
Yeah.
He essentially hands Buddy Hackett a handgun to basically walk in there and cause a distraction, which I like. Buddy Hackett's like, "Oh, I usually only use a gun that shoots a flag out the front that says boom." Almost like, glad that joke's like continued into the future.
But you laugh, it works.
Well, he does walk out there.
He walks out there with his gun. He points at the guy, and they do what I have to say is one of my least favorite things I see in TV, which is a person who's not confident with a weapon, and the person they're pointing the gun at, they go, "You have the safety on," and they go, "Ooh," and they look at the safety, and then of course they didn't have it on. They got fooled. Like, how many times have you seen that in television? I mean, look, there's many things to criticize in this TV show, so why pick that one thing? But it's like, guys, this is so dumb.
I mean, it's all a moot point because really Kincaid just needed that few seconds to circle behind them, and now he's behind all the bad guys. He's got his gun, and I guess like you're saying with G.I. Joe, he shoots his gun at the woman with the holding her gun, and he shoots it out of her hand somehow.
I couldn't figure out what happened. I thought he shot her in the chest.
Well,
it was so weird.
The machine gun fire is erratic at best. Like, it's everywhere. Like, he's firing off like thousands of bullets a second.
Wouldn't it be funny if he just sprayed everyone with bullets and was like, oh geez, what did I do?
I gotta get off this plane.
Just everyone's dead.
Nope, just perfectly. What a crack shot. Shot it right out of her hand.
Yeah.
Anyway, they free their compatriots. They're like, well, we're leaving now. See you later, prisoners. Though I did have a question. And they briefly mentioned it, but they never answered the question. Like, there's 4 Parajets, which fit 4 people. But now there are 5 of them, including Buddy Hacker, Lenny Hacker, and his luggage. I'm like, how did they get all the way off the planet?
I assume he shared with Kincaid. They just squeezed him in.
They just squeezed him in. I was really like, I mean, I know it's a small point, but I was curious. And halfway through the episode, they mentioned, they're like, well, we brought 4 of them because we need 1 to get. That's how they lie to the prisoners. They're like, that's why there's 4, not because there's another ranger, but because we need the 1 to get the comedian off the planet. And I'm just like, well, it just raises more questions. Anyway, not important. I will rest that case. I can move on past it. They return to Fort Hope, and I have a question for you, because they've been saying how he's like not loved anymore. He's not a beloved comedian anymore. And while they're on the planet, and he's talking to Doc about like his life and his things going on, and he's just like getting all sad. He's like, well, Doc, nobody loves me anymore. Nobody laughs at my jokes. And Doc turns to Boone. He's just like, I think we got to do something about this. And he gives him a wink like he's got a plan. Was this his plan?
Based on how the episode ends, the answer must be yes.
But they basically arrive back from the mission, basically. Like they've just returned, just rescued it. And like they're coming off the dock and the door's open.
It's like the end of Star Wars.
And a crowd has gathered around
the loading bay.
The loading bay. And Buddy Hackett walks out and is forced to improvise jokes for this crowd.
Yeah, and they like started a little quiet, but then like he starts razzing people and he's making observations and they're loving it.
Well, I love his joke. He's just like, oh, it's great to be here, but you know where I just was? And they're all like, oh my God, he was on Catraz. This is so funny. And yeah, you're right. He like walks by a guy who's either an alien or disfigured. And he just starts making fun of him nonstop.
Although,
and
again,
he really
I wouldn't put it past Space Rangers if he was just a guy that had some sort of unfortunate disfiguration.
Well, I mean, he's probably an alien, but it's just the makeup effect is so subtle that I'm just like, I just was like, I don't know if this guy's an alien. He could just be a man who had an injury.
The guy knows how to take a joke because he loves getting
aroused. Oh, he's loving it. He's laughing it up. In fact, he moves on. He makes fun of the general a little bit. The general's loving it.
Yeah.
What does he say? Like, the only time you see the general at the front is when he's cashing his paycheck. I'm just like, what are you talking about?
These are great one-liners.
Top-notch jokes.
Top-notch
He's just killing it. He's just killing it. The general has a little convo with his son Kincaid about how proud he is of him. Like that whole storyline wraps up in like,
which they didn't see it at all.
Well, it is just like the lazy, just like, oh, he's proud of you. I'm like, cool. I'm glad this is what that was about. And the whole thing, this also minor subplot, the idea that Wise, for the first time that's been mentioned, is that like, I think we could kind of assume he doesn't want to be there, but they never really set timelines or anything.
No, they mentioned it briefly in the very first episode.
Yeah.
That he's there somewhat against his will as some sort of punishment for something vague. Exactly. We don't know why, but he's there and he doesn't really want to be there. But you're right. For the next 5 episodes,
it hasn't come up.
It hasn't come up. I mean, he seems fine.
But Chenault's just like, thanks for having me back there with the general. I'm going to write a letter for you telling them to take you off the station right now. You can go back to your life. And then the general walks by and he's like, hey, great work out there. I'm going to make sure you stay here forever. What a gag.
What a gag, yeah. And then they give that look like, can you believe my luck?
Wah, wah.
Yeah. And that's the comedy episode.
That's the funniest comedy episode. Did you happen to see who it was written by?
I did not. I think the last one was written by old Penny Baker, whatever his name is, that did the show. But this one, I don't know who wrote it.
Well, the name of the writer of the show was Jess Human.
Is that right?
Yep. Only thing they've ever written on IMDb. Definitely not a real person.
Sorry, it was Jess Human, you said.
Jess Human.
That's good.
I saw that and I'm just like, oh, this is someone who did not want to be associated with the show in any way, shape, or form.
Do you think it's another of Shatner's children? like a bastard child that doesn't even get the Shatner name?
Oh, they would take the credit though. Yeah. This is some poor jobber who's just like, oh God, what a nightmare. All right. You want to move on to the final episode of Space Rangers?
Oh, it's so sad. It's wistful, sort of like looking back at the career of Lenny Hackett or Hacker.
Lenny Hacker.
Lenny Hacker.
Here's the IMDb summary for episode 6, The Trial.
The frontier isn't any different than life back on Earth. When you find friends you can trust, you stick by them no matter what. Because sometimes when things are tough, friends are all you've got.
Isegal frames Xylan for the murder of the Garaka Carlot. Given overall human anti-Garaka sentiment, no one will testify on his behalf. Can Boone prove Xylan's innocence before he does the honorable thing? and commits suicide.
That's by Tulu. What's the person's
No,
name?
this one didn't have a credit.
Oh, no
First
one,
time.
No one took it.
It has a similar writing style though, so I feel like it was still him. But he didn't
Right.
he didn't take the credit on this one.
Right. Is the episode that bad? He just was like, I don't even want
Not
anyone
even
to
he
know.
wants to know that he knew the synopsis for it. It starts off with our ranger pals. Our ranger pals. Pals.
Pals.
Our ranger pals. They're on a stakeout.
Yeah,
in
they're
Fort Hope.
undercover. Yeah, there's a guy, and he's all cloaked, and he's mysterious, and he's going through the hallways, and and what you get is a lot of that sort of like spy thing, where they're all on short circuit, and they're like, oh, and I like that. What's her face? JoJo. What her undercover has to be is making it with Kincaid.
Well, I don't even know if that was on purpose. Like,
Well,
her and Kincaid are in a hallway, and when the guy gets too close, Kincaid seems to grab her and force himself on her.
Yeah,
because
she doesn't seem to like it.
No, she pushes him away very quickly. Also, since when is it their job to do stakeouts?
I mean, why not?
One of them is a pilot.
Why not?
One of them's an engineer.
But basically, they're trying to catch this guy
Carlot.
for some reason, and
He's
They
a
do.
Garaka assassin who's been working for Isagal, and I guess they've been, I don't know. We clearly are coming median res on this because it's just like, oh, what a twisted web was taken to get us here.
But here's the weird thing about, I mean, I don't know enough maybe about stakeouts, but they're doing one and they're waiting for him so they can grab him. They could have grabbed him at any time. They didn't do
Absolutely.
anything. They didn't have to catch him doing anything. So why even watch him?
They weren't waiting for him to do a crime. No, they could have just grabbed him at any moment.
Yeah.
It was very easy to do once they did.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of tension between Xylon and this Carlot because Xylon does not approve of a criminal Garaka.
Mm-hmm.
Because of their history with rage. They should be only good, not
Mm-hmm.
evil. And that is, I guess, going to be the premise of the episode.
Sort of.
More or less, I think. More or less. Isagal, in the meantime, gets called into a meeting with Wise, Chenault, and the mustachioed prosecutor Murdoch.
And I have to say, I really like this actor in this role. I like this character, and I like the way he looks. I think it's almost good enough to be on a better science fiction show, his character.
Absolutely. I mean, this is kind of the thing. This is what I keep leaning on. But I'm just like, special prosecutor who's investigating crime syndicates. I'm like, maybe a Law and Order version of this show would be an interesting show.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not with these writers, but it's just like they're trying to imply it's some sort of like the universe is a little seedier, but there is a government, but it's like barely holding on. Because like this whole idea of like it's a special prosecutor, he's here to investigate the criminal organization of Isagal, who we can't break.
Do you think Port Hope is supposed to be seedy? Because I think they've implied it a couple times. It doesn't really look like it doesn't look like there's a high crime there. They've implied there's crime lords you can't touch on, but like you don't actually see that
I think
anywhere.
the problem is the only thing we really see is kind of Command Central, where Chenault works, and the bar. Like we've never seen where people live. We've never seen anyone's residence. The dock we've barely seen.
We do get, and this is the first time in this episode.
Yes.
Later on, we get like a sort of skyline view.
It is hard not to notice, and it doesn't really matter, so we'll just talk about it now. They go outside for the first time, which is, I remember when Courtney was on, I noticed she was saying it, and I've said it a few times, you keep calling it a ship because we only ever see interiors.
right.
And this is the first time we've ever gone outside and seen them just hanging out. And I'm just like, that's right, you guys don't have to be inside. You're on a planet that I guess sustains your life. Birds everywhere. Just tweeting birds everywhere in that scene.
The planet doesn't look. It looks
nice.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it is an odd choice that they've decided. No, it has to be in this gray steel building all the time.
Yeah, it took to episode 6 for them to be like, oh, maybe we should do a scene outside. It'd be nice in the sun.
That's weird.
There's not even windows in the Fort Hope that we've built.
So what we get is there's these two major people. You got your prosecutor with a mustache, and you got Isagal, who's the guy they're trying to frame.
Crime
for
lord.
Crime lord.
He's our tech lord,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he is a tech lord.
basically. If we're going to refer to the one thing we know.
Yeah, he's a tech lord.
Anyway, sorry. God, I was really off topic there. Isagal's like interested. He's like, oh, nice to meet you. And they're like, we're here to kind of take you down. Like they're very upfront with him. They're like, we're on to you. We've actually caught Carlot. We're going to take you down now.
He loves it though.
Oh, well,
He's super antagonistic.
he's not just antagonistic. He finds it a sensual pleasure and so delicious to be suspected.
I tell you, he's great. He's got long fingers, long sharp fingernails. He's always touching people's faces.
I will say, this is one thing that is coming back from that first episode. When Xylon described his race, he said they love to be suspected. It was one of the key traits.
Right.
And right here, he comes in, he's just like, oh, it's just delicious to be suspected. And I'm just like, well, I guess that's true. Apparently it's accurate.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you refer to things as delicious a lot when you're not speaking about food?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Oh, what a delicious episode of Lost that was. Anyway, he kind of like razzes him a little bit, though. He's just like, yeah, you're only after me because it's an election year and you need to get elected to special prosecutor again or something.
They keep mentioning elections, but I was like, what are you talking about? What does that have to do with anything?
It is. I think this is, to your point, these throwaway lines they think build out the universe, but like don't. Like just raise more questions than they answer, and not in a fun way.
Right.
Well, he's in this little meeting where they're telling him they're going to arrest him. He's just like, hey, as long as I'm here, though, I'm going to pay Carlotte's bail. Not for criminal reasons, purely compassionately, because as we've barely mentioned up till now, everybody's racist against Garakas.
Yeah, and they really push it in this episode. And look, this show did not have a long gestation or a long life here, but we've gone through 5 episodes. I don't think it's ever come up before.
I'm trying to think back to the first episode. I feel like in the first episode, someone mentioned that it was weird that a Garaka was on the ship, but never to the extent where we're just supposed to now assume they are hated as second-class citizens.
And they really try to push it this episode, at least in 2 scenes.
It's true. And it's kind of wild, too, though, because just like there's so many aliens around. It's just like it's hard to imagine one of them would be singled out so specifically.
Right.
Carlott gets bailed out. And we cut to a scene where Xylon's like, hey, you asked me to meet you in this dark corridor so we could discuss your criminal ways and how I don't think they're right. And it's all a setup for poor Xylon because Carlott is setting him up with Isigal. Mm-hmm. It was so weird.
Well, basically, you get a cross and then a double cross here because Xylon is confronting the guy. He gets shot with a dart.
A little blow dart.
Blow dart, knocks him out. And I think they mentioned, like, which doesn't matter at all. They're like, oh, that's only going to work for so long.
It's very quick.
It's like, oh, he's going to wake up? It's like, no, it doesn't matter. We just threw that line in. But then when you think, what's the other Graco's name? Carlott. You think, oh, he's going to be fine. He's now in charge. Isigal literally backstabs him and kills him.
Yeah. And basically, after Carlott's dead, Isigal puts the knife in Xylon's hand. It's all a big frame up, basically.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, we'll get into it. This is a very complicated plot on Isigal's part.
I actually don't. Has there ever been a history of why he's so against Xylon?
Well, I think we'll get into it as we go, but it becomes clear over the episode that it's not specifically against Xylon. There's like a larger game at play. It's not a good game, but he seems to be playing a larger, weird game in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either, and I thought, okay, he seems to know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it works out for him, more or less. I don't know.
But we after so
fade to black.
Yeah, fade to black, and we come back, and Xylon is just tearing the place apart. He's hulking out.
He is truly hulking out finally. He's tearing stuff off the walls. He's going crazy.
Yeah, he's throwing the very light set pieces. Just they're flying.
He's like blacked out and gone to a blind rage. He only really stops being in this blackout when Boone finally shows up and like slides his suppressor yoke back around his neck to calm him down. And since he remembers nothing, he can't claim innocence. He's just like, I might have killed him. I have no idea. My race loves to kill. Could have been me.
Yeah.
And he's a little worried because having done such a violent crime against someone who didn't deserve it, he ought to kill himself out of disgrace.
Yeah, I think this is the first time this has come up. There's clearly some sort of like samurai honor system they're going for.
That is what they're going for.
Sure.
After this first threat of just like killing himself, it really doesn't come up again. Like he's very easily talked out of it by Boone. He's like, just don't. And he's like, all right, I'll wait.
Yeah, I'll wait. I can wait. Anyways.
Wait.
Like,
I mean,
I don't have to do it now.
It couldn't be any time. Like now, 100 years from now.
Exactly.
It still works.
Yeah. Why did that guy kill himself? Oh, you know what? 200 years ago, he did something he was very embarrassed about.
He's so embarrassed about it. So he's arrested. Chenault demands that the trial of Xylon happen on Fort Hope, which is weird because the prosecutor's like, that's very unusual and not really your place to decide. And she's like, it's happening here. And he's like, all right, fine, I give up.
But that's your Space Ranger argument, where you just go, the argument is not an argument.
And then she's just like, by the way, part of my job here as the commander of the station, I'm also the judge.
Yeah.
But because she's honorable, she gives up judging duties and makes Wise the judge instead.
Now, is Wise, or Wise, whatever his name is he any less compromised by his relationship with the Rangers?
It doesn't make any sense. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, I guess you're less. I think it's because everyone around him says you're a jerk. So we're supposed to assume he hates them back. There's been no evidence of that. He seems to actually quite like all of them.
Also, they go, oh, and by the way, Weiss, you're a lawyer. And I was like,
yeah, he used to be a lawyer, so he could be a
lawyer.
judge.
Oh, okay.
It is wild. And the gang, of course, then goes ahead and they're like, we got to put our pensions together and hire a lawyer for Xylon. And this is where we kind of see Rich Kid Kincaid throw his money around.
Yeah.
And Doc has a bag of ice diamonds he dumps on a table.
I thought at first they said rice diamonds, which I liked better, but it unfortunately was ice diamonds.
It was ice diamonds. They're just little cubes. They look like dice or something.
Yeah.
But essentially, they put all this money together. But no lawyer in the galaxy will take the case because everyone hates Karaka.
And they have this whole scene here where they introduce a new character.
And
and
you think it's going to be this lawyer.
I was sure it was going to be a character, but no, she literally comes and goes, hey, just so you guys know, I can't be your lawyer. And they go, why? And she goes, you know everyone hates Grakas. And they go, oh, that sucks. And she's like, all right, see you guys later. And they've already made that comment like 3 times.
Well, and this scene has, because it didn't last very long, kind of moved on. But like, there's this one weird bit because she comes out and she's like, I can't do it. You understand why. Like, I can't risk my reputation on a person like this. And Boone says to her, he's like, well, you of anyone should understand prejudice. I can't believe you're not going to do this. Because she's black?
I think that's what he was implying, yeah.
It was the weirdest thing where they I was just like, you guys, this is not what are you doing? What is the comment you're making here?
It doesn't matter because...
Yeah, she doesn't take the case.
She doesn't take the case. And she's not a character. She leaves.
Wild scene. It was like, I was just like, I thought this was all set. Like, it's like everything. You're just like, it seems like they're setting something up here.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
You would almost think that they'd either just do it off camera, like, all the lawyers won't take the case. Done. We've moved on. Yeah. Or they would have a series of this to try to really show...
Like a montage or something.
Yes, the arduous journey they're going for. But they sort of go, you know what we're going to do in the middle and confuse everyone?
We're going to give a speaking part to a person to come in who looks like they're going to... It was insane. Well, at some point, too, they're like, well, why'd you fly all the way across the galaxy then? She's like, just to tell you.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, it's like they do enough to it's weird that she's here, right? Well, just say that she's fine with flying across the galaxy.
She just wanted to tell us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But what happens now?
It's a good thing that Boone took 3 months of law school to become a captain.
Although, from what we see, I think he was slacking off in class.
Well, it's funny because Doc will also become his co-counsel for some reason. He doesn't have any lawyer skills, but also seems to be a better lawyer than
Yeah,
Boone.
that's true.
But the idea that's just like, you get to this point, they're like, we can't hire a lawyer. We'll be our own lawyers. I'm like, this is like the start of a Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode. This is what this is like. This is such a bad idea. The 2 dummies are going to be your counsel. This is an episode of a show that's funny, but you're not a show that's funny.
It's also weird because it's a plot line that either this should be the main plot line of the episode, that Boone has to defend a friend and he's not confident in his legal skills. Okay, that's an episode. But that's not really what this is. We're more than halfway into this episode, and they just go, oh yeah, Boone's going to do it. Why? Well, he hasn't done anything this episode. And to be fair, he's barely been in this episode at this point. So, they were like, we got to use this guy.
We got to get him in there.
So, I don't know. He's the lawyer.
And we finally cut to the courtroom, which is just the regular office space. Did you notice there are people just doing their regular office work in the middle of court?
Was that right?
Yeah. I was just like, you're having court in the middle of a functioning command center.
Well, you know what? If they just stopped working, those cost reports would be...
Oh, yeah. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. What I did like, though, is we will see over this course, I mentioned earlier, Doc is a better and more professional lawyer than Boone is. Mm-hmm. And did you think he got a haircut for a second?
I did. He just combed his hair.
He just put his hair in a ponytail, but he looked good. I was just like, when you clean up, Doc, you're a handsome man.
Is it here or is it later? And I'm sorry to ruin this. Did you hear the thing that the people were chanting at one point in court?
No, what was it?
When they walk by the hall, I think it's at the beginning of the court.
Right, because they bring Xylon in.
They bring Xylon in and people. And one of the guys yells out, and it's my favorite line maybe of the entire show. So people are chanting, hell no, we won't go, whatever they're chanting. And one guy goes, it isn't bigotry if it's true.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what? Okay.
Right. I think JoJo stopped him and said, why are you yelling that at my friend?
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's not bigotry if it's true. It's fine then.
And they're all like, okay, move on.
Yeah, it's like, that's the thing, is there's all these people yelling at Xylon for being Garaka. They never come back to it. No one's ever reprimanded for their belief system. There's that's true.
Yeah.
I guess.
But here comes the great legal show we've all wanted it to be.
Finally, it's happening. Oh God, it was so close for me. Boone pleads for Xylan since Xylan won't speak out on his own behalf, and Boone's plea is, "It's all a frame up, you guys." Like I'm like, it's not a plea. You can't just yell, "It's all a frame up," and you have no evidence. Like he's done no.
Well, here's an interesting. Let me ask you your opinion on this, Luke. So, someone is accused of murder.
Mm-hmm.
He's charged with said murder. There's a court case. They say it's going to happen. Boone, his friend, says he's going to be a lawyer. Did this case happen 5 minutes after this decision was made? Because they give no indication that any research was given.
There's been no investigation.
No investigation. So, like, while Boone is clearly stupid and he doesn't know what he's doing, they have acted as if it's literally happening that afternoon. The case.
I mean, they let Boone be his lawyer, so it's quite clearly a kangaroo court.
Yeah.
And I mean, to your point here, the first person they put on the stand is Mimmer.
Yeah, that's right.
And did you catch the thing he says, why he's on the stand?
No, what did you say?
He is there because he did the autopsy 3 minutes after death.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And the whole point of that is, so he did the autopsy 3 minutes after death. So, and the lawyer's like, so there's no way they moved this body and it was a frame up, like he's trying to say, right? And he's like, no, I guess it couldn't be a frame up. And he's like, case closed.
Case closed. Like, I want it, like, what is that? It's 180 seconds passed between he got stabbed and they showed up and did and Mimmer like must have just walked into the room and like, oh, discovered the body.
I think Mimmer was in the room.
he was watching.
He just didn't have those tiny little glasses on, so we couldn't see anything.
He was watching. He was jerking it.
Oh, jeez.
He was loving every second of it.
So he wasn't just in that sort of that primordial sort of ooh place that was just.
I mean, maybe that's part of it.
Yeah,
maybe that's part of what gets him off.
Gross.
Anyway, they talk about how his specialty is alien life forms and kind of like how he should know about Garaka and their tempers. And there's this argument about some sort of paper that Central's written about the Garaka problem. There's like all this weird seeding of like some sort of like bias against Garaka, but it's just weird. Like they start yelling about how it's not supported by science, and I don't know what. Like I guess they're just one guy's trying to use it to like say Garakas are going to kill people because they're always violent, and then they're saying you don't know them, you've never really worked with them.
But I love that they didn't give any time to explain what this document or book is that they're quoting.
No,
it's just like, yeah, there's a book, and they're like, we don't agree with that book. But what are they talking about?
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, he's basically trying to get Mimmer to say it's like, could a Garaka kill someone even with the yoke on? And he's like, sure, probably. I mean, it could happen, but
what he gets him to admit is that the collar minimizes emotions and makes them manageable. It doesn't erase emotions. So thus, he could have still been angry and done something like that.
And of course, this is the time where Boone, as a lawyer, needs to step in because what's happening isn't right for his client. And unfortunately, he doesn't know how to object. So he kind of stands up and says, you can't say that. And Doc has to step in and he's like, you're telling me he's leading the witness. Tell him that, Boone. Boone's like, leading witness. Like, Boone is dumber than he's ever been in this episode.
He really is.
Like, Doc is far smarter than him in this episode.
Also, couldn't Boone shave for court?
That's what I mean. Doc looks great.
Yeah.
Doc put his hair back in that ponytail. He looks professional. He looks like he's there to do work.
I know, Boone didn't even shave.
Boone's like wearing a 3-day-old jumpsuit covered in stains.
It's one of the jumpsuits he found off those dead skeletons on the last episode.
It's like, I'm gonna have a second outfit now. Anyway, so just like any court case, after your first witness, you kind of just take a break and go hang out, just like take a walk around the bar, go wherever you want. Like Chenault will have that pep talk outside with Boone, and then she'll go have a pep talk with Xylan in his prison and be like, hey, Xylan, I know you don't want to testify on your own behalf, but do it for your old pal, Chenault. And he's like, all right.
Yeah, if there's an argument in Space Rangers, you know how it's going to go.
It's like, just do it. Come on. Also, Kincaid bumps into Murdoch as he's kind of walking around. He's like, hey, Murdoch, it's me, General Kincaid's son. We're good friends. And he's like, yes.
Yes, we are good friends. You're very familiar.
And then, like, he'll walk through the bar a little later after he's, like, clearly not recognized him. And when he walks to the bar, Kincaid's at the table with the rest of the Rangers. These are between court cases, which is what's insane. But he walks to the bar, he walks up to Kincaid, he's like, hey, remember that 18th birthday party your father threw you? That was wild. It's a wild 18th birthday party your dad threw for you, huh? And he's like, uh-huh. And he just walks away. And it's just like a weird throwaway scene, which will pay off later. Yeah. But it was just like, there's kind of these weird moments where they leave the courtroom after one person testifies. Every time one person testifies, they like have a break from the courtroom. Like it's too hard.
Luke, it's called a recess.
It's true. It's a recess. And even on this break, they'll see Issachar hanging out on the bar and he'll be like cracking wise.
Yeah.
And Boone will punch him in the face. I was like, all right, well, this is a mistrial now. Like he's going to jail. Like he's going to jail for assault. This must have been Issachar's plan all along. And Issachar's like, he's like, I'm not going to press charges.
He loves it.
I'm just like, you just like wild. The lead prosecutor just punched a man in the face.
Yeah. We do find out though that Gracchus live for 300 years.
That's true. I mean, that comes up now because Xylan takes the stand.
Yeah, he does. Because Linda Hunt's was like, come on. He said, yeah, all right.
That's true. And he gets up there and he's like, what happened? He's like, I have no idea. I don't remember anything. I'm like, well, this is going great, you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get a little Garak history lesson though. Live 300 years. And if you want to be a priest, what do you have to do?
I think it's 100 years to study for it.
Study for 100 years. And then 100 years of missionary work.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's where he is right now, I guess. He's doing his missionary work.
Oh, and this is the first time they've explained his powers. They actually call him an empath in this episode.
He's a Deanna Troi. He's a Betazoid.
Yeah, that's right.
And
although, by the way, he's like half as effective as she is. And she's the least effective person of the Enterprise.
Yeah. I like at some point they're like, well, tell us what everyone's feeling. He's like, she's nervous.
Yeah.
He's mad. And he points at the prosecutor. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure.
Well, and also when he was on the planet earlier, like, they have him there because he's supposed to like find people and stuff. And then one point in the last episode, they land the planet and he's like, what do you sense? And he went, something evil happened here.
Well, I mean,
I
on
like,
that planet, his powers work, sporadically.
Yeah.
Temporarily. I don't even remember what the planet is. Anyway, the other thing we learn is there's only 5 Garakas in the Rangers. And they're all there because one person fought for them. Chenault. She's a real champion of them. Mm-hmm. And now that you've told us all that information, all that backstory, time for a recess. Who needs a break? We got to hit this bar. They literally go back to the bar.
I know. It's one of the 3 sets they have. So
it's true. And it's great because they go back to the bar and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Because like they're basically like, hey, why did you bring up Chenault suddenly and how she introduced the Garakas into the thing? They're like, why is her name coming up in the trial? Like they're like baffled, but like they clearly like they've picked up on a seed of an idea here, like how this court case is changing. And as they're talking about this, Kincaid's like, yeah, that is weird. You know this is weird? I never had an 18th birthday party. I'm like, you didn't think to mention that when he said it to you like 4 hours ago? And he's just like, it was really weird when he kept talking about it to us because I don't remember having it.
This is just, and so it's setting up this sort of that the lawyer isn't who he says he is, but it's just such a weird thing to throw in at the end of the episode. So what we find is we go back to court. I mean, I don't even know the order it happens.
Well, that's it. What happens now is they're like, I think they go back to court. Chenault takes the stand. It's quite clear that Chenault is being put on trial for allowing Garakas into the whatever
Rangers
and stuff. They take another break and they're like, well, we really got to look into this Murdoch guy.
Yeah, so they start hacking.
Well, it's great. They hack the photo computers. Their security system is hilarious because they're like, Kincaid, can you hack it? And he's like, no problem. As long as we're only in there for less than 60 seconds, it doesn't start doing any security work.
That's right. Yeah.
And they like in that 60 seconds, they find a picture of him from when he was a teenager and a picture of Murdoch from now. And they do a retinal scan and it's different eyeballs. Mm-hmm. So they go back to court. They now know this has to be an imposter. They're after Chenault. This is all a big setup to like disgrace.
It's a huge chess game by Issachar.
Isachar's like really playing against everybody. In fact, like we get a scene where we actually see the lawyer and Issachar talking, and they're like, "You're doing everything great, there, lawyer. You're doing a great job." And he's like, "And when this is all over, you're gonna run Fort Hope." And I'm just like, "Is that what he wants?" Like it was like that was his promise to him. I'm just like, this is what is happening. But yeah, this final courtroom scene where they finally unveil the whole plan is great because you cut back to court and Wise is like, well, it's time to give the verdict. Where's Boone? And he's like, I don't know. Doc's just like, I don't know. He should be here. I was just with him when we hacked the computer, so I don't know why he's late. And Wise is like, all right, well, he's guilty. Case closed. Yeah. And then Boone runs in, he's like, wait, I have evidence.
Like, and he's like, oh, we said case closed. He's like, I have evidence. He goes, I'll allow it.
Yeah, and his new evidence is that man's an imposter.
Yeah.
It's like, that's unrelated to this case currently. But
I know, yeah, so he goes, he's an imposter, and we know because his eyeballs don't match. Then, what's the lawyer's name?
Murdoch.
Murdoch's like, I didn't want to bring this up because it's a sensitive issue, but I was in an accident. injured both my eyes, and I've had eyeball replacements.
If I have replacements, everybody knows about this crash.
Yeah. And thanks for bringing it up, by the way. I'm very
Right.
sensitive about my eyes.
And then Chanel stands up and she's like, I remember that crash. Only women survived.
So he goes, oh, no, you caught me. But what he should have just said is, I also had a gender swap.
I don't know. I mean, it did.
There, easy.
It was so weird. But yeah, like his lie is double uncovered now.
Yeah.
So he just like grabs a gun and just like waving it around. And then he's like, my master will never let this happen. My master. And Isagel's also in the court.
Yeah, he's in the court and shoots him in the back.
Just like guns the man down. And he's just like, do I get a prize?
Yeah, he's like, isn't it great I killed this this horrible guy and we didn't get to hear who his master was?
And Xylon Mission Impossible styles off the lawyer's face, and underneath it's just another hobobo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Isagel's arrested, and we cut to a bar, and they're all back at the bar again, celebrating success and joking about how Isagel's gonna get off because they're not going to catch him. Like they're laughing about it, like they think it's really funny.
And then Boone gives Xylon back his neck piece. What do we call it?
Oh yeah, well, and Xylon has a gift for Boone too.
What was that?
Xylon gives Boone his own suppressor yoke.
Oh, that's right.
Because he heard how he punched a guy at a bar and he's got a rage problem.
Yeah. And then they all kind of like just chuckle about
Big
it.
chuckle.
And that's the show.
And then the series ends forever, not a second too soon. I mean, what a crazy show, Jordan.
It really, really was.
What a crazy show. I'm going to, I want to go back to last week's episode because we were talking about that Velon Prince and like, Courtney had asked who played this Velon Prince. It's very cool. So I was like, I should go back and look just for Courtney at the very least. Not obviously a famous actor, but for certain people, semi-famous. Have you ever seen Day of the Dead, the George Romero movie?
I think I have a long time ago.
In that movie, there is a zombie they're training to like become normal again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not. He's kind of like training a monkey or something. But he played Bud, that like core zombie in that movie. And
I can't remember.
It's a lot of face acting. It's a lot of like working through stuff. So like, and he's very good. Like that is like one of the highlights of that movie. So I mean, I think that guy was just very good at like playing weird roles like that.
Right.
Anyway, I just wanted to make that little sub note before we finish this up here. So, Jordan, why don't we get into ratings unless you have anything else you want to say first?
No, let's get into the ratings for this. I think we might have said everything we could possibly say.
All right, Jordan, what do you want to give to be or not to be?
I don't even need to qualify it 8 out of 10.
You're out of your mind.
Come on. They had Buddy Hackett playing Buddy Hackett and
But not playing him well.
not playing, but like not even an episode of TV. Just like they just like threw like hey, there's a space gun. Yeah, let's figure something out. It's just like I love that this show ended up getting made somehow.
I know you do too. It's a 2.
Hey, so that's a 10.
That's a 10. Even 10.
Yeah.
And then the final episode, the trial.
I gave it a 7 out of 10. Although I think, as we talked about, I don't like it as much. But I'm just gonna leave it as a 7 out of 10.
I will say it was a more coherent episode in some ways.
Sort of.
Not like a lot more coherent.
It tried to do a lot more this episode.
I'm gonna bump it up to a 3. And that means I should get the old Continuum Drag computer out and see what the final overall series.
I
will
really
be.
threw the averages off on this one.
You love the show.
Yeah, it's just so fun and stupid.
Let's
You know what? I think part of it is too. In some ways, we've seen this show a million times because this show is just an amalgamation of every science fiction show. There's nothing original in this. But in another way, it's very original because nothing is this tone deaf and just lacks such quality control, and it just becomes a fun thing to watch.
I mean, I think while I get this rating up, maybe we'll talk about this now. Because I was going to say, do we recommend this to people? And I feel like you think this is a so bad it's good show.
Yeah.
And it's not. I disagree wholeheartedly. So we're at a real opposite ends here. So
Yeah.
I have no idea whether anyone should watch this.
Yeah, it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I know some people that would watch this and just laugh and have a good time, how stupid it is. But you're right. Look, it's bad. And I would...
I mean, I think we both agree
Yeah.
on everything.
Yeah.
Except for the one point of whether it's so bad it's good.
Yeah. I would be... Like, I'm not surprised that you feel the way you are. I mean, like we've said it, like, There's very little to unpack in this unpacked in this show. Worlds and species are just mentioned. Trades are just like, they aren't developed or given any time. We barely learn anything about the characters in the world they inhabit. And even like the design is just a mishmash of stuff. It's like they made a TV show, but all the details were annoying.
Yeah. They just couldn't care less about them.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, the final series rating for this show, Space Rangers, is 5.38.
Oh.
I mean, that's too high.
Well, I mean, it's higher than some shows we've done.
I mean, yeah, it is higher, and it's crazy to me that it's that high. But I think what it is there's just like, for a certain personality, it's gonna really like be a great time,
and for others, not so much.
Not so much. But at any rate, I'm glad it was only 6 episodes.
Me too. I think that was enough.
Yeah, it was too many. As it was canceled after 1 episode, everyone agreed. Too many.
Don't you want to know what happens to Izugal?
Yeah.
Don't you want to see
where's his other ear? Who knows?
And are they going to get those cost reports under control? Don't you want to know more?
I can guarantee you they're not. Never.
What are the name of those birds that we saw in that one scene?
I think they're probably called parrots.
No, they're called arrots.
All right, Jordan. Let's wrap this up then. Listener, if you want to email us about Space Rangers, we're here at continuumdrag@gmail.com.
I'll definitely take an email about Space Rangers.
Jordan would love to continue talking about Space Rangers someone. I'm going to take a clothes hanger. I'm going to shove it up my nose and just wipe it out of my memory. And on Instagram and Twitter, you will actually see the best of this show.
Yeah, probably.
Because in some ways, it's the one place I will credit it. It's just like, it's going to make some weird little clips.
The show is viewed very favorably in 5-second clips.
Absolutely. Well, listener, thanks for joining us. And Jordan, until next time, it's been fun going to Catraz with you.
Yeah, it was. Catraz. So stupid.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Ruxedler. Produced by Jordan Delic and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Yunes, Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, Jane McRae, and Stephen Packard.